Today I'm gonna go over what I think the showrunners of the One Piece live action need to do in order to create a successful product that resonates with the fans. We will cover episode structure, correlations to the original anime and manga, plot rearrangement, acting, CGI, and more. Let's go ahead and get started. Arguably, one of the most important things they're gonna need to get right besides Luffy stretching is how to adapt the contents from the original story into a 10-episode format. A huge issue that I had with the Cowboy Bebop adaptation is that each episode felt very disconnected. It felt like it was trying to link an overarching storyline but detached itself too much from it, making it feel more like a new cop case every episode type of story rather than something that is constantly progressing. One thing that makes One Piece feel like a constantly progressing story is that there are so many layers of plot that bleed into each individual arc. The main one, of course, being Luffy's journey to become the Pirate King. Each episode should feel like there's still things to be fleshed out later in the season, just like each saga in One Piece does. We should have the main goal of the East Blue Saga pointed out to us in the very first episode. Luffy wants to go to the Grand Line, but he needs a crew first. I think we can also expect our Roger flashback starting the Great Pirate Era in the first episode as well. If they could capture that feeling of pieces constantly moving towards the payoff at Logtown, then the flow of the episodes will feel much more gratifying and coherent. Something they should definitely utilize is cliffhangers. Like, instead of episode 2 ending with Luffy and Zoro saying goodbye to Kobe, maybe have it end with Luffy trying to catch the giant seagull and subsequently getting caught in its mouth. That will definitely give the viewers that unexpected, out of nowhere, ridiculous feeling Oda gives us at the end of almost every chapter. Adding cameos by more important figures earlier on in the season would also make the world feel much bigger and the story feel larger. Putting in a Smoker cameo or Zoro cameo in as the cliffhanger to episode 1 is a great example of that. I actually remember some leaks a while back that mentioned Baroque work references possibly in the first few episodes. I honestly think they're gonna absolutely kill it in this area because we've already seen things like Garp being mentioned during Roger's execution in some of the leaked set photos. Even towards the end of the story, give the fans something like Mihawk going to Shakes with Luffy's new bounty to really hype up Luffy entering the Grand Line. The only way for Tomorrow Studios to earn a second season of One Piece is to satisfy the majority of the fan base, not just by incorporating the main themes of the story, but adapting the structure that makes the show so enticing to consumers. One Piece is a story that's been flushed out for 25 years and is still continuing to amaze everybody with its progressing story. In my opinion, that gives the writers of this show a huge advantage. They can look back as a fan or with fans to find things most viewers have consensualized as less favorable or more favorable. They can even find plot holes earlier on in the story and correct them. A big plot hole being Sanji somehow not knowing Devil Fruit users can't swim, even though it's later revealed that he read the Devil Fruit encyclopedia. There are moments in the East Blue Saga I feel like dragged on a bit too long, especially in the anime. There is a ton of filler in the Logtown episodes, and I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but I feel like the fight between Luffy and Kuro at Syrup Village lasted way longer than it should have. If the writers feel similarly about elements in Syrup Village as well as other arcs during the East Blue Saga, then they have a huge advantage in tweaking little things to build off of the material that's already there, which I think all of us would appreciate. Also, if you've made it this far, please consider subscribing and leave a comment down below so I can welcome you personally to the Alliance. I know I'm using Cowboy Bebop a lot as a reference point, but I think it's an important piece of media to use because the same people who made Cowboy Bebop are the same people working on the One Piece live action. And if I'm being completely real with you guys, I think the Cowboy Bebop live action did a lot of things right. The problem is that the things they messed up on were just too important to mess up on. One thing I think the show excelled at was its choreography and visual depiction of the cyberpunk world the space pirates adventure in. And after seeing some of the set photos for all of the real-life tangible props for One Piece, I'm very confident that the same visual excellency will apply to this show as well. The visual problem that they ran into was not the look of the world. I think that looked great. It was more the look and costumes of the characters. For example, I think that Jet Black, out of all of the characters, had one of the best portrayals personality-wise, but his outfit just always seemed off to me throughout the entire show, with some of the accessories looking more like Spirit Halloween add-ons rather than actual cybernetic enhancements you would see in a high high-budget TV show with otherwise great visuals. I think the wardrobe with One Piece will actually be a lot easier to work with since most of the outfits are fairly simplistic. But if Luffy's scar, Sanji's eyebrows, or Don Krieg's golden armor looks out of place, it's gonna throw a lot of people off. These aren't things that would bug me too much personally, but people are definitely gonna nitpick, so don't give them a reason to. It should be something that's done well, especially with a budget as big as this one. The hardest part that they are going to have to absolutely nail is Luffy stretching. Over the past year, I've seen some awesome fan animations on what Luffy stretching could look like. I know they have the technology to pull it off, but the vision has to be accurate. Luffy stretching is not slow, it's not flimsy, it's fast, powerful, and elastic. The skin has to look right, it shouldn't look animated, it should feel real as if it were happening in real life. The punches should snap, the recoil should retract with a slight pushback. I'm actually really curious to see how Inaki is imitating the motions of Luffy's attacks behind the scenes, especially moves like Gomu Gomu no Balloon, Gatling Gun, and that fishnet he created against Arlong. Get this right at the start of the show and you will have a lot of people sucked in. Get it wrong and you could be losing a lot of potential viewers before the story even begins. Something that'll definitely throw everyone off if not done correctly is how the actors portray their respective characters. I've seen extensive footage of the majority of the cast and it's clear they are all very talented actors. However, given a poor script or a director who can't articulate the right vision, the project goes right down the drain. When it came to Cowboy Bebop, what turned me off the most was Vicious. I could not stand his character, and not just because he was a villain, but because of how over-exaggerated his entire personality was. It just felt so stale and, for lack of a better term, cheesy. No matter how invested in the story I would try to be, every time he came on screen, I just kind of felt uncomfortable. And maybe that's a bit harsh, but I really do feel like there's a direct connection between some failed anime adaptations and characters being overplayed. Anime is a cartoon, a manga is a comic, and these Japanese mediums in particular, especially ones like One Piece, have very exaggerated characters. The thing is, most Western audiences aren't accustomed to that wackiness, nor the actors trying to imitate the character from the anime. That's why I think it's crucial that they find the perfect balance when adapting this into a realistic lens. Do a good job and you're gonna get what we have in Marvel movies like with Thor Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy. Do it wrong and you get Vicious from Cowboy Bebop or Piccolini from Dragon Ball Evolution. Piccolini like broccolini is the disowned version of broccoli and Piccolini is the disowned version of Piccolo. Anyway, the same goes for the comedy as well. The comedy can be used as a tool to play off of exaggerated villains, which might make characters as ridiculous as the live-action Vicious actually look ridiculous but intentionally, which has definitely been shown to work if done right. Again, the first Guardians of the Galaxy being a great precedent. The bad guy was an extremely cringy, hilariously overconfident meathead who got challenged to a f***ing dance-off in the middle of the final battle, completely throwing off his ridiculous persona. Guardians used the comedy in that situation to make the exaggerated antagonist work. I think this style would work really well for characters like Alvida, Buggy, Morgan, and Don Krieg, whereas Arlong, the central antagonist, can have an attitude and personality that can be taken a bit more seriously. Well, until Luffy gets a hold of his teeth, of course. The great thing here is that not only do the cast look visually similar to their respective characters, but they share some of their personality traits as well. I mean, Goda himself personally reviewed each individual Straw Hat. So as far as the main cast goes, I'm actually very confident that they're going to do great embodying their own respective characters. The one with the hardest job out of the crew is definitely Inaki. Not only is his character one of the wackiest in the entire show, but he's the main character, which puts a lot of pressure on the actor. He already has the charisma of Luffy, now we just need to hope that the producers of the show write the live-action Luffy in a way that's digestible and moderately more realistic for the audience. I feel like the goofiness will definitely need to be toned down a bit, and the more endearing parts of the character toned up to balance it out. Maybe they'll put more of an emphasis on his emotional nuance, like his feeling towards piracy, towards protecting his friends, his treasure, and substitute the more wacky with a more endearing comedic side that plays well off of the other characters. The team behind the One Piece live action definitely has their work cut out for them, but there's a ton of really promising developments around its creation. The cast looks great, the set photos look great, Oda is involved, the showrunners are actually fans of the series who watch other One Piece YouTube creators and are avidly involved in the community. Plus, they have a reference point with Cowboy Bebop. Even if it wasn't a success, it can still be used as a learning experience, a test trial of sorts to really figure out what works and what doesn't. Of course, this video is entirely subjective, but I think most of the things that I mentioned in this video are not just my preferences, but things we all hope they deliver on. A lot of the moments in the East Blue Saga, especially towards the latter half, are some of the moments that made us fall in love with the series. Their main job here is to make us fall in love all over again and to guide others towards that same direction. Now I want you, the viewer, to close your eyes and imagine for a second. What scene made you fall in love with One Piece? Maybe it was Shanks sacrificing his arm and giving Luffy the inspiration for his journey. Maybe it's Zoro and his valiant battle against Mihawk, leading to one of the most memorable lines in the entire series. Maybe it's Nami crying out in pain while she aggressively carves out her tattoo of the man who kept her captive for years. I personally imagine the moment the sun shines down on Arlong Park after it's completely destroyed and everybody is liberated. Now I want you to imagine that scene again, but this time with the actors playing their role. Keep that image in your head and know that the directors are probably doing that exact same thing, using their love for the source material, creating a real life vision of it, and then saying, action. I make a lot of videos on the One Piece live action, but today I want to direct you to a video I think is important for One Piece fans, and will probably leave you with an entirely different perspective on the main character of the series, Luffy.